He just stared at the greasy paper bag on the coffee table like it was a venomous snake. The Golden Arches logo seemed to mock him. Seriously? Leo asked, his voice flat. McDonald's? I took a bite of my fries. You don't have to eat it. You can DoorDash something else if you want, he sighed, a deep, performative sound meant to convey profound disappointment. I just figured. You know. That you'd be over it by now. Over what? I asked, my voice intentionally light. I'm not over McDonald's. I could eat their fries every day. That was the end of that conversation. He sulked, ate a few nuggets, and spent the rest of the evening scrolling on his phone. It's been like this for 2 weeks now. 2 weeks of takeout, fast food, and frozen pizzas whenever he's over. And every single time, he acts surprised and hurt, as if he can't possibly fathom why the private chef has suddenly gone on strike. But the thing is, I'm not a chef. I'm just his girlfriend. Or I was. I'm not so sure anymore. For me, cooking has always been more than just sustenance. It's my love language. I'm 24, my boyfriend Leo is 23, and we've been together for 3 years. In all that time, the kitchen has been my sanctuary. After a long day, the methodical chopping of vegetables, the fragrant cloud of spices hitting a hot pan, the magic of turning a dozen simple ingredients into a complete meal. That's how I decompress. It's how I show care. And from the very beginning of our relationship, I've loved cooking for him. We don't live together, but he's at my place 4 or 5 nights a week. Early on, I recognized a small challenge. I come from a culture where food is vibrant, complex, and generously spiced. Leo's background is a little plainer. More meat and potatoes. I got it. So I adapted. I'd make 2 versions of everything. My portion would be humming with cumin and coriander and a little chili heat, and his would be toned down. Milder. Safe. I didn't mind the extra work. I genuinely enjoyed the challenge of making food that I thought he would love. But he never did. Not really. For 3 years, almost every single meal I placed in front of him was met with a little critique. A little stab. It was never a total rejection, which would have been easier to deal with. It was always qualified. This is good, but it's a little overcooked. The flavor is nice. But a bit too salty for me. You can really taste the garlic. Maybe a little less next time. My personal favorite, delivered with a thoughtful frown, was it's missing something. I can't put my finger on it. It's just bland. Bland. After I had spent an hour building layers of flavor, separating his portion before adding the ingredients I knew he wouldn't like. It was like an artist having their painting called colorless. My friends, many of whom are from the same background as him, would rave about my food. Oh my God, you have to give me this recipe, they'd say, mouths full. But from Leo, the highest praise I ever managed to extract was a half-hearted, tastes okay, I guess. The worst part was the ghost that haunted my kitchen, his mother. Everything I made, she apparently made better. My mom makes this exact dish, he'd say, but hers is way more tender. Or, it's funny, my mom uses the same spices, but her version just pops more. I tried to be understanding. Of course his mom's cooking was the gold standard, he grew up on it. She had decades of practice on me. Once, early on, I begged him for one of her recipes. I wanted to learn. I wanted to make him happy. He eventually texted me a vague list of ingredients for a beef stew. I went to 4 different stores to find the exact cut of meat she used. I simmered it for hours, filling my apartment with the rich, savory smell. I served it to him, my heart pounding with nervous anticipation. He loved it. He actually, genuinely loved it. It was the first and only time he cleaned his plate and asked for seconds without a single critique. I was so relieved, so ecstatic, that I asked for more recipes. Please, could you ask her for the chicken one? Or the lamb? He always had an excuse. Oh, she doesn't write them down. Or it's all in her head, you know how it is. So I was left to guess, to experiment, and to fail. Endlessly. Then, about a month ago, a new player entered the game. A new coworker started at his office. Let's call her Amelia. He mentioned her a few times. She was from a town near his mom's, she was funny, she was new to the city. I didn't think anything of it. Leo is handsome and charming, women flirt with him. It comes with the territory. But then, Amelia started bringing him food. The first time it happened, he came over after work glowing. You won't believe it, he said, dropping his bag by the door. Amelia brought in lunch for me today. It was so good. I was stirring a risotto, giving it my full attention. Oh, that's nice of her. Nice doesn't even cover it. It was perfect, he said. The word hung in the air. Perfect. A word he had never, ever used for my cooking. Seriously, it was cooked to perfection. I ate the whole thing. A little knot of something cold and unpleasant tightened in my stomach. I kept stirring. A few days later, it happened again. This time, he brought a small plastic container home with him. He set it on the counter while I was plating the dinner I'd just made. "Amelia made extra again," he announced proudly, like a cat dropping a dead mouse at my feet. "She insisted I take some for you to try." I looked from the container to the carefully prepared meal I was serving. "I'm good, Leo. I made dinner." "No, you have to try it," he insisted, opening the container. "This is what I'm talking about. This is what I mean when I say I like my food cooked a certain way. Maybe if you try it, you'll get what tastes good to me, you know? Then you can cook like this." I just stared at him. He was actually, seriously telling me to take notes from another woman. He then chuckled, a thoughtless, awful little sound. Honestly, at this rate, I should just let her keep flirting with me. The free food is amazing. He meant it as a joke. But it felt like a punch to the gut. All the air went out of my lungs. I'd spent 3 years, 1,095 days, give or take, trying to get it right for him. Making separate meals, shopping for specific ingredients, biting my tongue at every casual criticism. And the best I ever got was okay. This new girl shows up, and after 2 home-cooked meals, she's perfect. And her food is the key to understanding his palate. I wanted to throw the plate I was holding against the wall. Instead, I put it down on the counter very, very slowly. "I'm not hungry anymore," I said, and walked out of the kitchen. Later that night, after a tense, mostly silent evening, my curiosity got the better of me. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe my taste buds were just wrong. Maybe this Amelia was some kind of culinary prodigy. I went to the fridge, pulled out the little container, and took a small bite of the rice and chicken dish she had made. And, oh my God, it was awful. Truly, objectively terrible. The rice was the cheap, broken kind, and it was starchy and sticky, which meant she hadn't bothered to wash it before cooking. The chicken was dry and stringy, somehow both overcooked and lukewarm. There was a slick of grease at the bottom of the container that coated my tongue. And the seasoning? It was non-existent. A faint whisper of salt, and nothing else. It was the kind of meal you'd expect from a college sophomore who just moved into their first apartment. Which, I later found out from Leo, was pretty much exactly her situation. I took another bite, just to be sure. Was I insane? Was my jealousy so potent that it was physically altering the taste of this food? No. It was just bad. In that moment, a horrible, crystallizing thought dawned on me. It was never about the food. It was never about the salt, or the spices, or the cooking time. All those little critiques, all those comparisons to his mother. They weren't honest feedback. They were a tool. A way to keep me trying, to keep me slightly off balance, to keep me perpetually seeking his approval. He didn't want me to succeed. He wanted me to keep running on the hamster wheel, desperate for the little pellet of validation he would never, ever drop. His praise of Amelia's food wasn't about her cooking. It was about her. A new, shiny person to dangle in front of me. It was a way to devalue my effort and imply that my love, expressed through food, was easily replaceable. The sadness I'd felt earlier curdled into a cold, sharp anger. I wasn't just going to get mad. I was going to get proof. The next weekend, I went on a mission. I dug through my old text messages until I found it, the beef stew recipe from his mom. The one and only meal he'd ever declared a success. I bought every ingredient on the list, matching the brands I'd used that first time as closely as I could. I followed the instructions to the letter. Sear the meat. Sauté the aromatics. Deglaze the pan. Let it simmer, low and slow, for exactly 4 hours. My apartment filled with that same, beautiful, memory-laden aroma. For an added layer of certainty, I invited 3 of our mutual friends over for a late lunch, telling them I was trying out a new recipe. They all devoured it. "This is incredible," one said. "Seriously, text me the recipe later." "Restaurant quality," another added. They were my control group. My confirmation. When Leo arrived for dinner that evening, I was buzzing with a strange, clinical calm. I served him a big bowl of the stew. He took a bite, chewed thoughtfully, and then put his spoon down. He looked at me, a familiar, faintly apologetic look on his face. "It's good," he began. The dreaded but was hanging in the air. "But it seems a little overcooked this time? And the seasoning is just a little strong." I didn't react. I just looked at him. "That," I said, my voice even, "is your mother's recipe. The one you gave me 3 years ago. The one you said was perfect." I followed it exactly. 3 of our friends had it for lunch today and said it was amazing. His face flickered through a series of emotions. Confusion. Annoyance. And then, finally, the cornered look of someone who's just been caught in a lie. "Oh," he said. "Well, I don't know. It just tastes different tonight." That was it. That was the final confirmation I needed. I stood up and took his barely touched bowl to the kitchen and scraped it into the trash. I took my own bowl and did the same. "What are you doing?" he asked, following me. "I'm done," I said, turning to face him. The anger was gone now, replaced by a hollow kind of peace. "I'm done cooking for you, Leo." "What? Why? Because I gave you one little piece of feedback?" "No. Because after 3 years of me trying my absolute best to make food you like, making you separate dishes, trying to learn your mom's recipes, you've never once just said you enjoyed it. Not once, without a catch. But your coworker brings you some undercooked, oily chicken and suddenly it's perfect and I need to take notes from her." "I was joking about that," he insisted, his voice rising. "God, you're so sensitive. I didn't mean it like that." "It doesn't matter how you meant it," I said calmly. "It showed me that your criticism has nothing to do with my cooking and everything to do with something else. And I'm not playing anymore. I pour time, money, and love into what I make. I won't serve it to someone who is incapable of appreciating it. You clearly don't like my food, so I'm doing you a favor. I'm stopping." Which brings us to now. For the last 2 weeks, it's been a cold war fought with burger wrappers and pizza boxes. He comes over, sees there's no home-cooked meal, and gets pouty. He says I'm being childish and overreacting. He says I'm punishing him for being honest about his preferences and taking away something that he genuinely enjoyed, even if he didn't always say it perfectly. From my perspective, I've simply removed a major source of stress and heartbreak from my life. I solved the problem. He doesn't like my cooking? Fine. I won't cook for him. I thought he'd be happier this way. But his frustration tells me it was never about the food at all. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for completely stopping cooking for my boyfriend after he consistently criticized my food and praised his coworkers?